My husband's cousin wore a tight red dress to my wedding and gave a 15-minute speech about being my husband's number one girl. I made her a joke at her own engagement party. Me and my husband Tom had been together 5 years when we got married. His cousin Bella always hated me from day one. She was used to being the only girl in their tight family group of cousins who all grew up together. Tom and his 4 male cousins were super close, did everything together, and Bella was their princess. Then I showed up and Tom started skipping cousin nights to hang out with me. She never forgave me for that. At family dinners, she'd make these little comments about how Tom used to date this girl from their church, who was so perfect for him. When we got engaged, she asked Tom in front of everyone if he was sure he wanted to settle down so young. At my bridal shower, which his aunt threw, Bella showed up late, gave me a candle she obviously grabbed from a gas station, and spent the whole time talking about how wedding planning made people gain weight. She kept staring at my arms. My sister wanted to fight her in the parking lot. I told her it wasn't worth it. The wedding dress code was clear. Navy blue for family, other colors for friends. I even sent everyone little cards with color swatches because Tom's grandma asked for them. Bella texted me 3 weeks before the wedding asking if burgundy was okay. I said navy blue for family, remember? She sent back a thumbs up emoji. The wedding day comes, and this girl walks into the church wearing the tightest, shortest red dress I've ever seen at a wedding. I'm talking cutouts on the sides, slit up to her hip, neckline down to her belly button. My grandma thought she was somebody's escort. Tom's mom looked like she wanted to die. During the ceremony, she sat in the front row, crossing and uncrossing her legs every 5 minutes. My uncle thought she was coming on to him. During photos, she kept trying to stand next to Tom, pushing between us, bending over to fix her shoe every time the photographer set up a shot. In the reception photos, she's literally doing this pose where her whole ass is basically out. My 12-year-old cousin asked his mom why that lady forgot to wear clothes. When it came time for speeches, she grabbed the mic after Tom's best man and gave this whole speech about how Tom was like a brother to her and she'd always be his number one girl. She talked for 15 minutes about their childhood, inside jokes I didn't get, never mentioned me once. People started checking their phones. The DJ had to basically wrestle the mic away from her. During the mother-son dance, she tried to cut in. Tom's mom actually had to tell her to sit down. Twice. But here's what Bella didn't know. She'd been dating this guy Paul for 2 years, and they'd just gotten engaged a month before my wedding. She hadn't announced it yet because she wanted to do this big, elaborate party to tell everyone. I knew because Paul's sister worked at my dentist's office and mentioned it when I was getting my teeth cleaned for the wedding. Bella was planning this huge engagement announcement party for 3 months after my wedding. Fancy country club, 150 people, the whole thing. I became the best future cousin-in-law ever. I called Bella every week to ask about her party planning, offered to help with decorations, acted so excited for her. She ate it up, probably thinking she'd won by making me kiss up to her. Got myself on the planning committee with her mom and sister. They put me in charge of the dress code and invitations because I had such good taste from my wedding. I made these beautiful invitations that said cocktail attire in gold letters. Sent them to everyone except Bella's. Hers said creative cocktail on the dress code line. Just hers. Night of her party, everyone showed up in normal cocktail dresses and suits. Bella walked in wearing this insane outfit she'd found at some boutique. It was supposed to be avant-garde or whatever, but it looked like a disco ball had sex with a peacock. Sequins, feathers, these weird shoulder things that stuck out 2 feet. A train for some reason. She thought everyone else would be in fun creative outfits too. Instead, she looked completely insane next to everyone in their little black dresses. I watch Bella realize what's happening as she stands in the country club entrance. Her face goes from confident to confused in about 2 seconds. Then her eyes scan the room and land on all the women in simple black dresses and navy suits. Her mouth opens slightly. She looks down at her own outfit with all those sequins catching the light and those massive shoulder things sticking out. Her face turns red. Like really red. The kind of red that starts at your chest and creeps up your neck. I'm standing near the bar with Tom and I feel this rush go through my whole body. It's satisfaction mixed with something else. Maybe guilt. But I push that feeling down deep and take a sip of my drink. Bella's eyes are darting around the room now. She's trying to figure out what went wrong. I can see her brain working. She thought everyone would be dressed fun and creative like her. Instead, she looks like she escaped from a Vegas show while everyone else looks normal and classy. Bella's mom appears out of nowhere. She rushes over wearing a simple gray dress and grabs Bella's arm. I watch her lean in close and start whispering. Her eyes keep moving around the room looking at all the guests. Bella's just standing there frozen. Her mom is talking fast and I can tell she's asking what happened with the dress code. Bella keeps looking down at her outfit. At the feathers, at the sequins, at those weird shoulder pieces that make her look twice as wide. Her face gets redder every second. Some of the guests near the entrance are staring now. A few women have their heads together whispering. Bella's mom looks like she wants to die. She keeps trying to position herself to block Bella from view, but those shoulder things stick out too far. There's no hiding this disaster. Paul walks up looking totally confused. He's wearing a nice suit and tie, normal cocktail attire like everyone else. He keeps looking at Bella and then at the other guests and back at Bella. I hear him ask why she's dressed like that. His voice carries across the room a little. Bella's trying to explain something about creative cocktail. Her voice is shaking. She pulls out her phone like she's going to show him the invitation. Paul looks at the screen and then looks even more confused. He says he could have sworn the invitation said regular cocktail attire. Bella's voice gets higher. She's saying no, it definitely said creative cocktail. She wouldn't have made this up. Paul's scratching his head. A few of his family members come over to see what's going on. I'm standing across the room with Tom acting like I'm looking at the decorations. Tom has no idea what I did. I picked up a napkin and I'm studying it like it's the most interesting thing I've ever seen. My heart is beating fast, but I keep my face calm. Tom's mom walks over to me. She's holding a glass of wine and she has this look on her face. She comments that Bella's outfit is quite something. Her tone is careful, like she's testing me. I can feel her watching my reaction. I just shrug and say, I guess Bella wanted to make a statement at her own party. Tom's mom doesn't say anything for a second. She just looks at me. Really looks at me. Her eyes are searching my face for something. I meet her gaze and keep my expression neutral. Finally, she nods slowly and walks away. But I can tell she suspects something. Tom's mom is sharp. She's probably putting pieces together in her head. The wedding dress code disaster. Me being in charge of Bella's invitations. Bella showing up in that insane outfit. I watch her walk over to Tom's aunt and whisper something. They both glance at Bella and then at me. My sister appears next to me at the bar. She leans in close and whispers that this is the best thing she's ever seen. Then she asks if I actually did what she thinks I did. Her eyes are shining. She's trying not to smile too big. I don't confirm or deny anything. I just take another sip of my drink and look straight ahead. My sister squeezes my arm hard. She says Bella had it coming after that wedding disaster. She says she's proud of me. Then she signals the bartender and orders me a drink. Something strong. The bartender makes it and slides it over. My sister raises her glass to me like we're toasting. I clink my glass against hers, but I don't say anything. Part of me feels amazing, like I finally got even. But another part of me feels weird. Watching Bella stand there looking so embarrassed is satisfying, but also kind of sad. I push that thought away and drink. Bella disappears. 1 minute she's standing near the entrance with her mom and Paul, and the next she's gone. I scan the room, but I don't see those giant shoulder things anywhere. About 20 minutes pass. People are mingling and drinking, and the party is trying to start normally, but everyone keeps talking about Bella's entrance. I hear snippets of conversation. Someone says they've never seen anything like it. Someone else says they thought maybe it was a joke. Then Bella comes back. She's wearing a simple black dress now. It's plain and boring and clearly borrowed from someone. Probably her sister, based on how it fits a little tight in the shoulders. Bella's eyes are red and puffy. She's been crying. She's not making eye contact with anyone. She just moves through the party with her head kind of down. She goes straight to Paul and stands next to him. He puts his arm around her, but he still looks confused about the whole thing. Bella's trying to act normal, but her smile looks forced. Her mom keeps hovering nearby, looking worried. The engagement announcement happens right on schedule. Paul's dad gets everyone's attention and makes a speech about how happy they are. Everyone claps. It's polite clapping, not excited clapping. The energy in the room feels off. People are still whispering about Bella's outfit, about how weird it was, about how she changed. Paul takes the microphone and tries to make some jokes. He says something about his fiancé's bold fashion choices. He's trying to laugh it off, but Bella looks like she wants to disappear into the floor. Her smile is so fake. She's nodding along, but her eyes look empty. Paul keeps talking about their love story and their plans. People clap again when he's done. Bella says a quick thank you, but her voice cracks a little. She hands the mic back fast and steps away. I watch her grab a glass of champagne and drink the whole thing in one go. I need to use the bathroom, so I head that direction. On my way, I pass near the ladies' room and I hear voices. Tom's aunts are standing in the hallway talking. I slow down and pretend to look at my phone. One of them says Bella always has to be the center of attention. The other one agrees. She says this time it backfired badly. They're talking about how Bella made a scene at my wedding too with that red dress. One aunt says maybe this will teach her some humility. Maybe she'll learn that she can't always be the princess. The other aunt laughs and says she hopes so because the family is tired of walking on eggshells around Bella's drama. I feel this rush of being right. Like I'm not the only one who sees how Bella acts. Even Tom's family is criticizing her. I finish in the bathroom and come back out. The aunts are gone. But I feel lighter. More sure that what I did was justified. Tom finds me during dinner. Everyone's sitting at their assigned tables eating fancy food. Tom pulls my chair back a little and leans down. He asks if we can talk outside for a minute. His voice is quiet but serious. My stomach drops. I follow him out to the country club patio. It's getting dark outside. Tom turns to face me and asks directly if I had anything to do with Bella's dress code confusion. His eyes are searching mine. I can see he's already figured it out. He knows me too well. I have to decide right now if I'm going to lie to my husband or tell him the truth. My mouth feels dry. I think about making up some excuse. But Tom's looking at me like he already knows. Like he just needs me to confirm it. I can feel my heart beating in my throat. I tell Tom the truth. I say yes. I changed Bella's invitation to say creative cocktail while everyone else's said regular cocktail attire. Tom's face changes. First he looks surprised even though he suspected. Then he looks disappointed. Then frustrated. Then just tired. He runs his hand through his hair. He says he understands why I did it after what Bella did at our wedding. He gets it. But then he says he's worried about what this means for family stuff going forward. He says now there's going to be drama at every holiday and every gathering. He says his mom probably knows and his aunts probably know, and everyone's going to take sides. I tell him Bella deserved it. Tom nods slowly. He says maybe she did, but now we're both stuck dealing with the mess this creates. He looks at me for a long moment and I can see he's trying to figure out if I regret it. Honestly, I don't know if I do. Tom looks at me for another long moment, then asks if I feel better now that I got revenge. The question catches me off guard. I want to say yes. I want to say watching Bella walk in wearing that ridiculous outfit made everything she did at my wedding worth it. But Tom's face is so tired. His shoulders are tight with stress. I can see the worry in his eyes about what this means for every family gathering from now on. So I tell him honestly that yes, I feel better, but I can't fully enjoy it because I see how stressed he is. Tom nods slowly like he expected that answer. He says Bella's behavior at our wedding was wrong and he gets why I wanted to get back at her. But then he says now I've stooped to her level. He says maybe we both need to be better than this for the family's sake. His words hit me harder than I expected. I thought he'd be more on my side. I thought after everything Bella did he'd understand why this felt necessary. But I can see his point too. We stand there on the patio in silence for a minute. Finally, Tom says we should just get through the rest of the party and not discuss it anymore tonight. I agree because what else can I do? We walk back inside together, but something feels different between us. There's this new tension that wasn't there an hour ago. A distance I created by doing something I knew would upset him. We rejoin the party and try to act normal. Tom goes to talk to Paul about their fantasy football league. I stand near my sister at the bar. But the whole rest of the evening I feel this weight in my stomach. This realization that getting revenge on Bella might have cost me something in my marriage. That thought sits there heavy and uncomfortable for hours. The party winds down around 10. People start saying their goodbyes. Bella's back in her borrowed black dress moving through the crowd thanking everyone for coming. Her smile still looks forced. Her eyes are puffy like she's been crying more since I saw her earlier. I'm standing near the coat check when Bella's sister walks up to me. She doesn't look angry exactly, just serious. She says she knows I changed the dress code on purpose. Not a question, just a statement of fact. My heart starts beating faster, but I keep my face neutral. Bella's sister crosses her arms and tells me that Bella's been crying in the bathroom multiple times tonight. She says this is Bella's engagement party. It's supposed to be happy. Instead, her sister spent half the night hiding and crying because she looked like an idiot in front of everyone she knows. I feel defensive immediately. My hands clench at my sides. I tell Bella's sister that Bella wore a tight red dress to my wedding, that she gave a 15-minute speech about being Tom's #1 girl without mentioning me once, that she tried to cut in during the mother-son dance, that she made my wedding day about her. Bella's sister goes quiet for a moment. She's processing what I said. I can see her thinking it over. Then she says 2 wrongs don't make a right. Just like that. Simple and direct. She walks away before I can respond, before I can defend myself more or explain why Bella deserved this. I stand there watching her go, feeling frustrated and confused and still a little satisfied but also increasingly uncomfortable about the whole thing. Tom finds me a few minutes later and says we should head out. The party's basically over anyway. We say goodbye to Bella's parents and Paul. Bella's nowhere to be seen, probably still hiding somewhere. The drive home is completely silent. Not the comfortable silence we usually have. This is heavy and awkward. Tom keeps his eyes on the road. I stare out the window at the dark streets passing by. I keep replaying Bella's face when she walked into that country club. The confusion turning to horror. The way she looked around at everyone in their normal clothes while she stood there in feathers and sequins. Part of me still feels satisfied. She embarrassed me at my wedding in front of everyone I love. Now she knows how that feels. But another part of me feels increasingly uncomfortable. Bella's sister's words keep running through my mind. 2 wrongs don't make a right. Tom's words too. Now I've stooped to her level. I thought revenge would feel better than this. I thought I'd feel completely justified and happy. Instead, I feel mixed up. Satisfied but guilty. Vindicated but worried. We pull into our driveway and Tom turns off the car. We sit there for a minute in the dark garage. Neither of us moves to get out. Finally, Tom says we should probably get some sleep. We both have work tomorrow. I agree. We go inside and get ready for bed in silence. When we climb into bed, Tom kisses my forehead but doesn't say anything else. I lie there in the dark thinking about everything that happened, processing what it means. Eventually, I fall asleep, but it's not peaceful. My phone rings at 8 the next morning. I'm still groggy when I answer. It's Tom's mom. She asks if I can meet her for coffee this morning. Just the two of us. Without Tom. My stomach drops immediately. I know what this is about. I can hear it in her voice. That careful, neutral tone that means she's upset but trying to stay calm. I tell her sure I can meet her. We agree on a coffee shop near her house in an hour. When I hang up, Tom's already awake looking at me. He asks if that was his mom. I nod. He asks what she wanted. I tell him she wants to meet for coffee alone. Tom closes his eyes for a second like he was hoping this wouldn't happen. He asks if I want him to come with me. I tell him no. His mom specifically said without him. Tom says okay, but he looks worried. I get up and take a shower. Get dressed. The whole time I'm thinking about what I'm going to say. Whether I should keep denying I changed Bella's invitation, or just own up to it. By the time I'm in my car driving to the coffee shop, I still haven't decided. Part of me wants to keep lying. Protect myself. But I know Tom's mom already knows. She's not stupid. She's known me for 5 years. She can read me. I get to the coffee shop and Tom's mom is already there at a corner table. She's got 2 cups of coffee waiting. I sit down across from her and thank her for the coffee. We make small talk for about 30 seconds. Then Tom's mom gets straight to it. She says she's known me for 5 years now. She knows how I think and how I handle things. And she knows I changed Bella's invitation. She says it calmly. Not angry. Just stating a fact. I feel my face get hot. My hands wrap around the coffee cup. Tom's mom asks me why I felt that was necessary. Not accusatory. She genuinely wants to understand. So I explain everything. I tell her about all the little comments Bella made over the years. About how she showed up late to my bridal shower with a gas station candle. About how she wore that red dress to my wedding when the dress code was clear. About the speech where she talked for 15 minutes without mentioning me. About trying to cut in on the mother-son dance. About how she made my special day feel like it was about her. Tom's mom listens quietly. She nods occasionally like she's processing everything I'm saying. She doesn't interrupt. When I finish, she sits back in her chair and takes a sip of her coffee. Tom's mom says she remembers Bella's behavior at my wedding. She admits it was completely inappropriate. She says she should have said something at the time, but she didn't want to cause a scene. She apologizes for that. Says she should have stood up for me more. I feel a little relief hearing her say that. But then Tom's mom leans forward. She says what I did was calculated and mean in a different way than Bella's impulsive attention-seeking. She says Bella acts out for attention without thinking. It's immature and wrong, but it's not planned. What I did was planned. I thought about it for weeks. I positioned myself on the planning committee specifically to change her invitation. Tom's mom says she's disappointed that I chose revenge instead of addressing it directly. That I didn't come to her or talk to Bella or tell Tom how much it was bothering me. I feel defensive immediately. My jaw gets tight. I tell Tom's mom that I tried being the bigger person for 5 years. That I let Bella make constant digs at me at family dinners. That I smiled through her comments about Tom's perfect ex-girlfriend. That I ignored her asking if Tom was sure he wanted to settle down. That I dealt with all of it quietly. And one embarrassing party seems like fair payback for ruining my wedding day, for making me feel unwelcome in this family for 5 years. Tom's mom nods slowly. She says she understands my anger. She gets why I felt like I needed to do something. But she says revenge doesn't actually make anyone feel better long term. She asks if I feel better now. Really better. Not just satisfied in the moment, but actually at peace. I think about it. About the weight in my stomach last night. About the tension with Tom. About Bella's sister saying 2 wrongs don't make a right. I don't answer, but Tom's mom can see it on my face. She says now there's a family rift that didn't exist before. That everyone's going to take sides. That holidays are going to be awkward, and that Tom's caught in the middle between his wife and his cousin. Tom's mom takes another sip of coffee, then asks me a question that makes my stomach drop. She asks if I'm prepared for Bella to retaliate. If I've thought about what happens when Bella gets revenge on me for this. She says that's what happens when people trade revenge instead of having honest conversations. It becomes a war. Back and forth. Each person trying to hurt the other more. She asks if that's really what I want for my marriage and this family. I sit there frozen. I hadn't thought past the satisfaction of embarrassing Bella. I hadn't considered that she might come after me next. That this might escalate into something worse. that we might spend years trading petty revenge while Tom gets more and more stressed in the middle. I look down at my coffee cup. Tom's mom reaches across the table and puts her hand over mine. She says it's not too late to fix this, that I can still talk to Bella, have an honest conversation about how her behavior hurt me and apologize for embarrassing her. Start over. I want to argue. Want to say Bella doesn't deserve an apology. But I know Tom's mom is right. I know this path I'm on leads nowhere good. I just don't know if I'm ready to be the bigger person when Bella's never had to be. I drive home from the coffee shop with Tom's mom's words playing on repeat in my head. When I walk in, Tom's sitting at the kitchen table working on his laptop. He looks up and I can tell from his face he knows where I've been. I sit down across from him and tell him everything his mom said. About how my revenge was calculated instead of impulsive. About how this could turn into a war between me and Bella. About how he's stuck in the middle. Tom closes his laptop and rubs his face with both hands. He admits he's been worried about the exact same thing. He says his family has this pattern where they avoid direct confrontation about anything. That's why Bella got away with her behavior for so long. Everyone just ignored it or made excuses. But he says my approach of secret revenge isn't healthy either. It's just a different kind of avoiding the real problem. We sit there quiet for a minute. I ask him what he thinks I should do. Tom says he thinks I should try to have an actual conversation with Bella about both incidents, about her behavior at our wedding and what I did at her party. I feel my stomach tighten at the thought. The idea of sitting down with Bella and being vulnerable about how much she hurt me sounds awful. But Tom says if we don't address this directly, it's just going to keep festering. Either Bella will retaliate or we'll spend years in this cold war and family gatherings will be miserable forever. I tell Tom I don't know if I can do it. If I can sit across from Bella and apologize for embarrassing her when part of me still thinks she deserved it. Tom reaches across the table and takes my hand. He says I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be honest. Tell her what I did was wrong and also tell her how her actions hurt me. Give us both a chance to actually move forward instead of just trading revenge. We decide together that I should text Bella and ask to meet for coffee. Tom offers to be there as a mediator, but I tell him this needs to be between me and Bella if it's going to mean anything. If Tom's there, we'll both just perform for him instead of being real with each other. He nods and says he understands. I pull out my phone and stare at it for a long time before I finally type out a message to Bella asking if we can meet to talk. I hit send before I can overthink it. 3 days go by with no response. 3 days where I check my phone constantly and feel more anxious with each hour that passes. I rehearse what I want to say over and over. I practice in the shower. I practice while driving to work. I try to figure out how to be honest about how much she hurt me without being cruel, how to apologize for what I did without making excuses. On the 3rd day, my phone buzzes with a text from Bella. Just one word. Fine. Then another text with a coffee shop name and a time 2 days from now. No pleasantries. No acknowledgement of why we're meeting. Just cold agreement. Those next 2 days drag by. I barely sleep the night before. I show up at the coffee shop 10 minutes early and order a coffee I don't drink. I just hold it and watch the door. 15 minutes after our scheduled time, Bella walks in wearing sunglasses even though we're inside. She's in jeans and an oversized sweater. Her hair is pulled back tight. She walks over and sits down across from me without taking off the sunglasses. She crosses her arms over her chest. Before I can say anything, before I can even get out the apology I've been practicing, Bella leans forward. She tells me she knows I changed her invitation. She knows I did it on purpose to embarrass her. She calls me petty and vindictive. She says I don't deserve to be part of their family. Her voice is shaking, but she's trying to sound strong. I take a breath and force myself to stay calm. I tell Bella that what I did was wrong, that I'm sorry for embarrassing her at her engagement party, that it was mean and calculated and I shouldn't have done it. But I also tell her I need her to understand how much her behavior at my wedding hurt me. I list out specific things. The red dress when everyone else wore navy blue, the 15-minute speech where she talked about being Tom's #1 girl and never mentioned me once, trying to cut in during the mother-son dance, making my wedding day feel like it was about her instead of about me and Tom. Bella's face changes as I talk. Her jaw gets less tight. She interrupts me to say she doesn't remember it being that bad. She says she was just trying to celebrate her cousin getting married. She sounds defensive but less angry. I pull out my phone and open my wedding photos. I scroll to the ones where Bella is clearly visible in that tight red dress. The ones where she's posing with her whole body angled toward the camera. The ones from her speech where she's holding the microphone and Tom looks uncomfortable. I turn the phone toward Bella and she goes quiet. She looks at the photos for a long time. She finally takes off her sunglasses and I can see her eyes are red. She admits quietly that she might have gone overboard at my wedding. She says she was jealous, that Tom had someone he loved more than the cousin group, and it felt like losing her best friend. She says the 5 of them had been so close growing up, and then I showed up and everything changed. Tom started skipping cousin nights. He stopped answering her calls as quickly. She felt replaced. She says she handled it badly by trying to stay the most important woman in his life even at my wedding. I tell Bella I understand feeling left out. I get that it's hard when relationship dynamics change. But I say the solution isn't to sabotage my relationship with Tom or make me feel unwelcome in the family. That we could have talked about this years ago instead of her making little comments and me getting more resentful. Bella nods slowly. She says she can see now how her behavior looked from my perspective. That she was so focused on her own hurt feelings she didn't think about mine. She apologizes for making my wedding day difficult. We sit in awkward silence for a full minute. Neither of us knows what to say next. Finally, I apologize again for the dress code thing. Bella says she's sorry for the red dress and the speech and all the little comments over the years. It's not a perfect resolution. There's still tension hanging in the air between us. But it feels like maybe we can move forward without actively trying to hurt each other. Bella asks if we can start over. Try to be actual family instead of enemies. I agree to try, even though I'm not sure we'll ever be close friends. We shake hands across the table, and it feels formal and strange, but like a real truce. Like maybe we've both grown up a little bit today. I drive home with the coffee shop conversation playing in my head, and when I walk through the door, Tom looks up from his laptop. He can tell something happened from my face. I sit down next to him on the couch and tell him everything about meeting Bella, about her admitting she was jealous, about us apologizing to each other and agreeing to try being actual family. Tom puts his laptop aside and hugs me so tight I can barely breathe. He says he's proud of me for having that hard conversation instead of letting things stay bad forever. He tells me this is better for everyone than keeping up some revenge war that would just make family dinners awful for years. I lean into him and admit I was scared to meet her, scared she'd just yell at me or make things worse. Tom kisses the top of my head and says the fact that we both showed up and actually talked means we both want things to be better, and that's what matters. Over the next few weeks, Bella and I see each other at family stuff and we're polite but not warm. We say hi when we arrive, make small comments about the food or the weather, but we don't seek each other out or have long conversations. It feels okay though, like we've found this middle ground where we're not enemies, but we're not pretending to be best friends either. At a Sunday dinner at Tom's parents' house, I'm helping clear plates when Tom's mom comes into the kitchen. She touches my arm gently and thanks me quietly for talking to Bella. She says she can see we're both trying, and that means more to her than we probably realize. I tell her it was time to stop being childish about the whole thing, and she squeezes my hand before going back to the dining room. I have a dentist appointment 2 weeks later for a regular cleaning, and Paul's sister is the one doing my cleaning like usual. She's chatting while she works, and she mentions that Bella told her we cleared the air about everything. Paul's sister seems genuinely happy about it, smiling while she flosses between my teeth. She says Paul was really stressed about all the family drama affecting their wedding planning, worrying about seating charts and whether people would be uncomfortable. Now they can focus on happy things instead of managing tension between relatives. I nod as much as I can with her hands in my mouth, feeling a weird mix of guilt and relief that other people were affected by our fighting. My sister comes over for lunch on a Saturday, and we're eating sandwiches in my kitchen when she asks if I regret getting revenge on Bella now that we've made peace. I think about it for a minute, really consider the question. I tell her honestly that I don't regret it completely, even though I know that probably makes me sound petty. Sometimes people need to experience consequences before they're willing to have honest conversations. Maybe embarrassing Bella at her engagement party was necessary to get to this point where we could actually talk. My sister raises her eyebrows and says that's a pretty convenient way to justify being mean, but she's smiling a little. I shrug and say I'm not claiming to be perfect, just that it worked out in the end. Tom and I are lying in bed one night a few weeks later, both of us scrolling on our phones, when I put mine down and tell him we need to talk about boundaries and communication. He looks worried for a second, but I explain that I mean in general, about how we handle problems. We spend the next hour talking about how we both need to be more direct, instead of letting things build up until someone explodes or does something drastic. Tom admits he should have defended me more strongly against Bella's behavior over the years, that he saw what she was doing but didn't want to cause family drama. I admit I should have told him how much it bothered me instead of planning secret revenge like some kind of villain. We promise each other we'll be better about actually saying when something's wrong, even if it's uncomfortable. Thanksgiving dinner happens 2 months after the coffee shop conversation, and Tom's whole family crowds into his parents' house like always. After we eat, Bella and I end up in the kitchen together doing dishes because everyone else somehow disappeared to watch football. We're standing at the sink, me washing and her drying, and we make small talk about Paul's new job and my work project. It feels almost normal, even though there's still this underlying awkwardness, like we're both being careful not to say the wrong thing. She asks how my boss is doing, and I ask about her wedding venue search, and we get through the whole pile of dishes without any tension. Bella mentions while putting away a serving platter that she's been in therapy talking about her jealousy issues and fear of being replaced. She says it casually, like she's commenting on the weather. but I can tell it took guts to share that with me. She's learning healthier ways to handle relationships and not freak out when people's dynamics change. I'm surprised she's telling me this, surprised she's being this open. I tell her that's really mature and I respect her for doing that work, because therapy is hard and most people won't even try. She gives me this small smile and says her therapist thinks she has abandonment issues from her dad leaving when she was little, and she was projecting all that onto Tom. I share that I've been working on not holding grudges and being more direct about my feelings instead of letting things build up until I explode. Bella nods while drying a wine glass and says we're both learning, and maybe that's what matters more than pretending the past didn't happen. We can acknowledge we both messed up and still move forward. She puts the glass in the cabinet and we stand there for a second in this comfortable silence that would have been impossible 6 months ago. Then Tom's cousin yells from the living room asking if we're coming to watch the game, and the moment breaks. Christmas comes and Tom's family does their big gift exchange at his parents' house with everyone crowded into the living room. There's wrapping paper everywhere and kids running around, and when it's time for the adults to exchange gifts, Bella hands me a box. I open it to find this beautiful journal with my favorite quote embossed on the cover, the one I mentioned once at a family dinner months ago. I'm genuinely touched that she remembered and paid attention. I give her the cashmere scarf I picked out in her favorite color, and when we exchange gifts, there's this moment of genuine warmth between us. Not fake politeness, actual warmth. It feels like progress, like we're building something real instead of just going through the motions. Tom's mom pulls me aside during Christmas dinner while everyone else is getting dessert. She tells me she's noticed the change between me and Bella, how we actually talk now instead of avoiding each other or being fake nice. She's grateful we worked it out because the family tension was hard on everyone, especially Tom. She says family is complicated and messy, but the fact that we're both trying means everything. I tell her it wasn't easy, but it was worth it, and she hugs me tight before going back to serve pie. A few weeks after Christmas, Bella calls and asks if I can meet her for coffee to talk about wedding stuff. I agree and drive to the little cafe near her apartment, wondering what she needs help with. She's already there when I arrive, sitting at a corner table with a big binder full of wedding plans spread out in front of her. She waves me over and I sit down, ordering a latte from the waitress who comes by. Bella starts showing me fabric swatches and venue photos, asking my opinion on centerpieces and table layouts. It feels weird to be consulted like an actual friend instead of someone she tolerates at family dinners. I give her honest feedback about what worked at my wedding and what I wish I'd done differently. She takes notes in the margins of her planning sheets and actually seems grateful for the advice. When she asks about dealing with difficult relatives during the planning process, I tell her to set boundaries early and stick to them no matter how much people complain. She nods and says that makes sense, then mentions her mom has been trying to invite random cousins she hasn't seen in 10 years. We spend almost 2 hours going through her plans, and by the end she hugs me and thanks me for being so helpful. The next time I see Bella is at Tom's parents' house for a Sunday dinner about a month later. She pulls me aside while everyone else is watching a basketball game in the living room. She tells me she finalized her wedding colors and they're going to be navy blue and gold. There's this moment where we both just look at each other and I can see she remembers my wedding dress code and the whole red dress disaster. Neither of us says anything about it out loud, but the acknowledgement is there hanging in the air between us. She smiles a little and mentions she's going with a very specific dress code this time, color assignments for different family groups and everything. I can't help but laugh because the irony is so obvious. She laughs too, and it's not mean or awkward. Just two people who've been through something messy together and can see the humor in how things have changed. We head back to join everyone else for dinner, and the whole evening feels comfortable in a way it never has before. My sister comes over to my house the following weekend to help me reorganize my closet. While we're sorting through old clothes, she asks if Bella and I are actually friends now, given how much time we've been spending together. I stop folding a sweater and think about how to answer that. I tell her we're more like friendly family members who respect each other's boundaries. We're not going to be best friends who text every day or go shopping together, but we can be in the same room without tension and actually have decent conversations. My sister raises her eyebrows and says, "That's still a huge improvement from a year ago when I was plotting revenge." I agree and explain that it's not the close relationship Tom probably hoped for when he imagined his wife and favorite cousin getting along. But it's functional and drama-free, which feels like a real win considering where we started. My sister nods and says, "Sometimes that's the best you can hope for with difficult family members," and she's proud of me for putting in the effort even when it was hard. That night after my sister leaves, Tom and I are getting ready for bed when he brings up Bella. He tells me he's really happy with how things have settled between us, and he was genuinely worried for a while that he'd always be stuck in the middle. I sit on the edge of the bed and tell him that growing up sometimes means having uncomfortable conversations and admitting when you're wrong. Both Bella and I did that, even though it sucked and felt vulnerable. Tom sits down next to me and puts his arm around my shoulders. He says he knows it wasn't easy for either of us to get to this point, and he appreciates that we both cared enough about him and the family to do the work. I lean against him and mention that I'm glad we can all just be normal at family events now without everyone walking on eggshells. He kisses the top of my head, and we finish getting ready for bed, and I fall asleep feeling good about how far things have come. 2 months later, I get a text from Bella asking if I want to come to her bachelorette party. I stare at my phone for a solid minute because I'm genuinely surprised and kind of touched that she'd invite me. I text back yes, and she sends me all the details about the weekend trip to a beach house her sister rented. The weekend arrives, and I drive to the beach with a carload of Bella's friends and cousins. We spend the day on the beach, then go out to dinner at this seafood place overlooking the water. Everyone's laughing and telling embarrassing stories about Bella, and I find myself actually having fun. It's weird to think about how different this is from a year ago, when we couldn't be in the same room without me wanting to strangle her. That night back at the beach house, we're all sitting around drinking wine when Bella stands up and taps her glass to get everyone's attention. She gives this speech thanking everyone for being there and celebrating with her. Then she looks directly at me and says she wants to specifically thank me for giving her a second chance after everything that happened. It's awkward and sincere at the same time, and several of her friends look confused because they have no idea about our history. But I appreciate the gesture because I can tell it took guts for her to say that in front of everyone. I raise my glass to her and she smiles, then continues with the rest of her speech about how excited she is to marry Paul. Later that night, a few of us are sitting on the back deck looking at the ocean, and Bella comes over to sit next to me. She doesn't say anything for a while, just sits there listening to the waves. Then she quietly tells me she's glad we worked things out, and she's sorry it took her so long to grow up. I tell her we both had growing up to do, and I'm glad we got there eventually. The next morning at breakfast, Paul's sister pulls me aside while Bella is in the shower. She tells me that Paul is really relieved Bella and I worked things out because he was worried about family drama ruining their wedding. She says Bella talks about me differently now, with actual respect instead of that resentful tone she used to use. That means a lot to Paul because he wants his wife to have good relationships with his family and hers. I tell her I'm glad too, and that Bella's been making a real effort to be better. Paul's sister nods and says she can tell, then mentions that Paul thinks I'm good for Bella because I don't let her get away with her usual princess behavior. We head back to join the others for breakfast, and the rest of the weekend is relaxed and fun. 3 months later, Tom and I get dressed up for Bella and Paul's wedding. The invitation clearly states the dress code with specific color assignments for different family groups. Tom's immediate family is supposed to wear burgundy, extended family wears cream, and friends wear whatever they want as long as it's not white or black. I put on the burgundy dress I bought specifically for this wedding, and Tom wears a burgundy tie with his gray suit. We drive to the church, and when we arrive, I notice that everyone is actually following the dress code. No one's wearing the wrong color or trying to stand out. The ceremony is beautiful and traditional, and Bella looks genuinely happy walking down the aisle to Paul. There's no drama, no inappropriate outfits, no one trying to steal attention. It's just a normal, lovely wedding where everyone behaves like adults. At the reception, Bella and Paul do their first dance, then Paul dances with his mom, and Bella's supposed to dance with her uncle since her dad isn't around. But before that happens, Bella takes the microphone and says she wants to say a few words. She thanks everyone for coming and supporting them, then specifically thanks Tom for being like a brother to her their whole lives. She talks about how Tom has always been there for her, and she's grateful to have him in her life. Then she turns and looks at me sitting at our table. She says she also wants to thank me for becoming family and being patient with her while she learned how to share Tom with someone else. She admits it wasn't easy for her at first, but she's grateful we found our way to a good place. I feel tears starting in my eyes because it feels genuine and hard-won, not like some fake speech she's giving for show. People around us are smiling, and a few of Tom's aunts are wiping their eyes too. Tom squeezes my hand under the table, and when I look at him, I can see he's emotional too. His eyes are a little watery, and he's got this soft smile on his face. The rest of the reception is fun and drama-free, and at one point Bella comes over to our table to chat between dances. Later that night, when Tom and I are driving home, he tells me this is what he always hoped for. He says having the two most important women in his life find a way to coexist peacefully means everything to him. He was scared for years that it would never happen, that there would always be this tension at every family event. I squeeze his hand back and tell him I'm glad we got here too, even though the path was messy and complicated. He parks in our driveway, and we sit there for a minute in comfortable silence before heading inside. In the reception, after the cake cutting and a few more dances, I find myself standing near the dessert table when Bella walks over. She's changed out of her wedding dress into this comfortable-looking cream-colored outfit, and she looks happy and relaxed. She asks if we can talk for a minute, and we move to a quieter corner of the reception hall where the music isn't as loud. She starts asking me about marriage, about how Tom and I handle disagreements and make decisions together. It feels weird at first, giving Bella relationship advice when less than a year ago I was plotting revenge against her, but I answer honestly. I tell her that communication is everything, that you have to actually say what's bothering you instead of letting it build up. I mention that compromise doesn't mean one person always giving in. It means finding solutions where both people feel heard. She listens carefully, nodding, and asks specific questions about handling family pressure and maintaining your own identity while being part of a couple. I realize she's genuinely trying to learn from someone who's been married longer, and it's surreal but also kind of nice. We talk for maybe 15 minutes before Paul comes looking for her, and she thanks me for the advice before heading back to her new husband. My sister finds me a little later while I'm getting another drink. She leans against the bar next to me and says it's wild how much has changed in less than a year. She reminds me that at my wedding I was so angry I could barely look at Bella, and now here I am giving her marriage advice at her wedding reception. I take a sip of my drink and tell her that sometimes the worst conflicts force people to make a choice. You either keep fighting forever and make everyone around you miserable, or you find a way to make peace and move forward. We chose peace, both of us, because staying enemies was exhausting and pointless. My sister nods and says she's proud of me for being the bigger person, but I correct her. I tell her it wasn't about being bigger. It was about both of us deciding to grow up and stop acting like teenagers. Bella had to admit she was jealous and possessive, and I had to admit I was petty and vindictive. We both had work to do, and we both did it. My sister squeezes my shoulder and says she's glad it worked out, then goes to find her date on the dance floor. Months pass after Bella's wedding and life goes back to normal. Tom and I settle into our routines, work keeps us busy, and family gatherings happen like they always do. When Tom's family announces a big reunion at a lake house they rented for a long weekend, I don't feel the usual dread about seeing Bella. We drive up on a Friday afternoon and the place is already full of cousins and aunts and uncles. That evening, everyone gathers on the big deck overlooking the water for dinner, and when I'm looking for a place to sit, Bella waves me over to the spot next to her. It's not forced or awkward, just natural. We sit together and chat while we eat, talking about our husbands and our jobs and regular everyday stuff. She tells me about Paul's new position at work, and I tell her about a project I'm working on. We discuss a show we both watch and argue playfully about which character is the most annoying. It feels genuinely comfortable, like talking to any other family member, and I realize this is what normal feels like. No tension, no hidden resentment, just two people who happen to be related by marriage having a regular conversation. The next day at the reunion, I'm helping Tom's mom set up lunch when I hear Tom's grandma talking to a group of aunts near the kitchen. She's saying how glad she is that Bella and I finally get along, that the family tension from before was stressful for everyone. She mentions that she worried for a while that every holiday and gathering would be uncomfortable, but now she can actually relax and enjoy family time. One of the aunts asks what changed, and Tom's grandma says sometimes young people need to work through their issues on their own, without the older generation getting involved. She tells them that she and Tom's mom almost tried to mediate several times, but decided to let us figure it out ourselves, and she's glad they did, because now the resolution feels real, instead of forced. I keep arranging sandwiches on the platter like I'm not listening, but inside I'm thinking about how our conflict affected more people than just us. Tom's grandma is right that it's better this way, that we had to choose peace ourselves, for it to actually mean something. Later that afternoon, I'm sitting on the dock with my feet in the water, and it hits me that I don't think about the red dress incident anymore. Unless someone specifically brings it up, it doesn't cross my mind. Same with the engagement party revenge. Those events feel like ancient history now, things that happened to different versions of us. I can remember them happening, can recall the feelings I had at the time, but they don't carry the same weight anymore. It's just part of the messy process of becoming actual family with someone who started as an enemy. We had to go through all that drama and conflict and eventual honesty to get to this point where we can sit together at dinner and talk about normal things. The path was ugly and complicated, but it led somewhere good, and I'm grateful we both chose to walk it instead of staying stuck in our resentment. That evening after dinner, everyone gathers in the living room and Bella and Paul stand up together looking excited and nervous. Paul announces that they have some news to share, and Bella adds that they're expecting a baby due in about 6 months. The room explodes with congratulations and excitement, everyone hugging them and asking questions. I feel genuinely happy for them as I make my way over to offer my congratulations. When I hug Bella, she holds on for an extra second and whispers that she's kind of scared about the whole motherhood thing. I pull back and tell her she's going to be great, and she asks if I'll help her navigate pregnancy and being a new mom when the time comes. I say of course without hesitation, and she looks relieved. Paul thanks me for being supportive of Bella, and I can see in his eyes that he knows our history and appreciates that we've moved past it. Tom and I are getting ready for bed that night in the small guest room we're sharing at the lake house. He's brushing his teeth when he says he never thought we'd get to this point. I ask what he means, and he explains that he never imagined I'd be someone Bella turns to for support, that he always figured we'd maintain a polite distance at best. I tell him that people can change and relationships can heal if both parties are willing to do the work. We both were willing, even though it was hard and uncomfortable and required admitting things about ourselves we didn't want to face. Tom rinses his mouth and comes to sit on the bed next to me. He takes my hand and says he's grateful for the peace we've built, that having the two most important women in his life actually like each other means everything to him. I squeeze his hand back and tell him I'm grateful too. A few weeks after the reunion, my sister comes over for dinner at our place. While we're cleaning up the dishes, she asks if I ever regret the revenge or wish I'd handled everything differently from the start. I think about it for a minute while I rinse a plate. I tell her honestly that I wish I'd confronted Bella directly years ago instead of letting resentment build up for so long. If I'd just talked to her after the first few incidents of her being rude to me, maybe we could have avoided the whole red dress situation and the revenge and all the drama that followed. But I also tell my sister that I don't regret that the revenge eventually led to us having real conversations. Sometimes people need a wake-up call, need to experience consequences, before they're willing to be honest and make changes. The revenge was petty and wrong, but it cracked open a door that led to something better. My sister nods and says she understands, then mentions that she's impressed with how much emotional maturity both Bella and I have shown in working through everything. One night, a few weeks later, Tom and I are lying in bed talking about the future. He mentions that we should probably start thinking seriously about having kids soon, and I agree that I'm ready to start trying. Tom gets excited and starts talking about what it'll be like to be parents, and then he mentions that our kids will have a cousin close in age with Bella's baby. The fact that this thought makes me excited rather than stressed shows how much has changed between us. A year ago, the idea of our kids growing up alongside Bella's would have filled me with dread, worried about maintaining boundaries and dealing with ongoing tension. Now I'm genuinely looking forward to our children being friends, to sharing parenting advice with Bella, to our families being truly connected. I tell Tom I'm grateful for the peace we've built, and he kisses my forehead and says he is too. Bella's baby shower happens on a sunny Saturday afternoon at her mom's house. The backyard is decorated with yellow and gray balloons and streamers, and there are maybe 30 women there, including me. I brought a gift I spent a long time picking out. Practical stuff she'll actually need, plus a few cute outfits I couldn't resist. When I arrive, Bella comes over immediately to hug me and thank me for coming. Throughout the shower, she keeps checking to make sure I'm having a good time, introducing me to her friends and including me in conversations. At one point, she's opening gifts and telling stories about her pregnancy, and she mentions me specifically. She tells the group that I'm her cousin-in-law, who helped her figure out how to be a better person. It's an oversimplification of what actually happened between us. Doesn't capture the full complexity of our conflict and resolution, but I appreciate the sentiment behind it. She sees our whole messy history as something that helped her grow, and maybe she's right. We both grew through the process of hurting each other, and then choosing to be honest and make peace. I catch her eye across the room and smile, and she smiles back with genuine warmth. After the gifts are opened and people start heading out, I catch Bella near the gift table where she's organizing all the baby stuff people brought. I hand her the bag I've been holding with the things I picked out. Practical stuff like burp cloths and sleep sacks, plus a few tiny outfits I couldn't resist buying. She opens it right there, and her eyes get teary when she sees I was included a journal for tracking the baby's first year, something my sister gave me that I found really helpful when I was thinking about starting a family. Bella looks up at me and pulls me into this tight hug. Not the awkward family gathering hug, but a real one. She whispers that she's grateful I'm in her life, and that she knows she didn't make it easy for me to want to be. I hug her back and tell her we both had to learn how to share Tom and his family, and now we're here. When we pull apart, she's wiping her eyes and laughing about pregnancy hormones, but I can see it's more than that. This is the woman who wore that red dress to my wedding, acting like I'm someone she actually values, and I realize I'm proud of both of us for doing the work to get here, instead of staying enemies forever. Tom's mom catches me in the kitchen while I'm refilling my water glass. She closes the door behind her and stands there for a second like she's thinking about what to say. Then she tells me that watching Bella and me go from hating each other to actually being friends has been one of the most encouraging things she's seen in their whole family. She says families have conflicts all the time, but most people just avoid each other, or stay polite on the surface without fixing anything real. The fact that Bella and I chose to have hard conversations and work through our issues gives her hope that other family problems can be solved the same way. She squeezes my hand and says she's grateful I didn't give up on Bella even after everything that happened, that it would have been easier to just stay civil and distant, but we both chose something harder and better. I tell her honestly that I almost did give up, that after the engagement party I thought maybe we'd just avoid each other forever. But Tom helped me see that family is worth fighting for even when it's uncomfortable, and Bella met me halfway by being willing to admit her mistakes and change. Tom's mom hugs me and says that's exactly what she means, that it takes two people choosing to be brave and honest. Driving home that night with Tom, I think about everything that happened between me and Bella over the past 2 years. The revenge was petty, and the whole situation was messy and ugly for a while there. But it cracked something open that needed to be cracked, forced us to either keep hurting each other or finally talk honestly about why we were so angry. Bella and I aren't best friends now and probably never will be, but we're family in this way that feels earned and real instead of just obligatory. That's better than the fake politeness we could have kept up forever, both of us smiling at holidays while secretly hating each other. Sometimes you have to go through the really ugly stuff, the revenge and the fighting and the uncomfortable conversations, before you can get to something good and genuine. I'm glad we both chose to do that work instead of taking the easy road of just avoiding each other. Tom reaches over and squeezes my hand like he knows what I'm thinking about, and I squeeze back.